Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hormone Helper podcast. I'm Coach Andrew, your hormone helper from Fit for All Fitness. I personally coach over 1,600 men and women to help better understand their hormones so they can lose weight and get their metabolism back on track. With this podcast, you're going to hear from me and my special guests about everything from metabolism to thyroid to weight loss. And we even talk a little bit of sexy time as we chat to spread more knowledge thick like butter on your hormones. If you're ready to learn, I'm ready to share, so let's do this. Hey guys, Coach Andrew here. Welcome back to the podcast. I want to make this episode today talking about, are you doing the things in your life well? Are you eating well? Are you working out well? Are you actually performing and benefiting on your health in a wellness state? Or are you just someone who's caught in the act of doing, and so you're not seeing any results and you're getting really tired and burnt out with the outcome? And I shared this podcast today because I've had three conversations, and these are conversations I have all the time, but I've had three conversations specifically this week about clients who are caught up in the do, how they want to do more for their family, more for their business, more for their relationships, more in their goals and health. And in getting caught up in the action of doing more, they're actually seeing less progress, less results, less consistency, and less energy. And they're wondering, like, what the heck is going on? Because you can get a physical burnout that tells you that you're like at a point in which you've exerted too much energy, but you can also get a mental and emotional burnout, which is the exhaustion and apathy where you don't really want to do what you're doing right now. And here's the unique part about this. You will know if this is happening to you because life in the universe is going to give you a signal that looks like this. When you're super busy, when you feel overwhelmed, life is going to try to throw curveballs and things to actually put a halt to what you're doing. So, great example of this, maybe you've got a back-to-back schedule, you're taking your kids to 15 different places, you've got a plan to eat lunch on the fly, and you're driving down, you don't have a minute in between anything, and you're just being reactive. You're just going with the flow of whatever's there. Then all of a sudden, life is going to show up and say, hey, guess what? Now your car is going to break down. So now you've got to take that business call on your drive, and then you still have to move around a way to get your kids to a certain appointment. And you think to yourself, like, why me? Why did this happen? Why am I now in a state where what I planned is not working? So what you need to consider is, like, you're caught in the do, and what you were doing in the first place wasn't actually sustainable. So this one teeny little thing that normally wouldn't be a problem in anybody else's life has now completely thrown you for a loop, and now you're stuck. Now you're stuck because life is trying to tell you to stop. Just like if we overuse our body, if we expel too much energy, if we are taking too much and we don't fuel our body right, we'll get sick, we'll become ill, we'll feel incredibly exhausted, we'll feel like we have to wind down. That's the body's physical way of telling you that you need to stop. You need to relax. You're doing too much. Now, life also will have an energetic way of telling you to stop, and that's putting and throwing curveballs in to get to this point where, like, you basically are like, oh, I'm screwed. I can't do this. I can't possibly do all of this stuff and manage this one thing. So in sharing this podcast today, we're going to talk about doing and doing well. And then I'm going to give you an exercise and a tool for you to recognize whether or not you are playing small in an area, whether or not you are doing well in an area, and how to navigate and do that thing. Okay. So here's the act of doing and doing well. Okay. A lot of people might look at what they're doing for their health and fitness, might look what they're doing for their goals, and they're like, but I'm doing all of the right things. Doing all of the right things is still not doing well. So for example, let's say you're making an effort and you're like, well, I'm eating 3 square meals a day and I'm trying to focus on protein for my food. Like, I'm doing all of the right things. Okay, you're doing a part of the right things, but are you doing it consistently? Are you still getting the recovery that's needed? Are you getting the sleep that's needed? Are you making sure that your food is the best quality possible? Are you changing up your meal times to make sure that your hunger and your fullness is consistent? Are you making sure that when you're cooking your food, you're using like you're not using seed oils and you're using unprocessed oils for fats? Are you doing it in a full and complete motion? Oftentimes, when we implement something into our life that works initially, it's because we are making an active attempt to do it well. Like, think about the first time you ever changed your food and went on a diet. You probably felt great and you probably lost 5 pounds. And you're like, oh man, I'm seeing results. This is awesome. I'm feeling good. And the first time you exercised and you actually took exercise seriously, and you're like, wow, I have so much more, so much more. I have so much energy. I feel a lot more like my inflammation is gone. I can move my body a lot more. Doing those things is because you were all in on that thing. You were conscious about that thing, and you did your utmost to do that thing well. And so, in return, you saw the best result possible for that thing. And that's really the difference between just doing, where you get caught up in a routine and a cycle, and you're doing the bare minimum for that thing, or doing it well. So I'll give you another example of this. Okay. Spoke to a client today, and the client was like, I only lost 1.5 pounds this week. And the week before, I didn't lose any weight. And I feel a little bit confused. And I said, okay, well, tell me what you've been doing. And they're like, well, I've been trying to juggle work back and forth. So I've only been sleeping 6 hours, but I've been making sure to do that consistently every night. And sometimes it's been really hard for me to get the food. So I still get my portions, but sometimes I'm lacking on protein. And there was always I'm doing this, but I'm missing X. And I said, well, look at all of the things that you're missing. Look at all of the things that you're not fully doing that you were doing the weeks before, and look at the difference in terms of results. And this is where sometimes we can do the right things, but not get the result that we want if we don't actually do it with a full level of intention, of integrity, and we actually put the work into it. Now, putting the work doesn't mean doing more. Remember, I'm telling you right now that you're probably doing way too much and you're not focusing on the right things and you're not doing it in the right way. We don't need to do more. We need to get more out of what we do. And that means we need to be more intentional with what we do with our health and fitness. I don't care if you work out for half an hour. When you're half an hour, you're not on your phone. You're all in. You're timing your rests. You're pushing your body to your limit. You're getting everything that you possibly can out of that half an hour. So when you are taking that time, are you intentional with that time, or are you just being reactive and going through the motions? Because sometimes we get caught up in going through the motions and in just trying to add more stuff so that way we can feel like we're doing more. Because if I do more, I must be progressing further or I must be seeing more results. And that's not necessarily the case. Here is people who do well. A lot of my clients who go through this process and about 4 or 5 weeks in, it clicks with them. They're like, oh, this is what it's like to do well. Here's what they do. They first strip away everything that does not serve them. They learn to delegate really quickly. So everything that they shouldn't be doing, they either give to someone else to do, they work on their business to help make that transition, or if they're just, being solo and they're kind of doing everything on their own, they start saying no to more things. Because you need to free up time and space for you to actually be able to wind down, for you to be present. Like an example right now of presence is, are you listening to this podcast episode right now, sitting down, just in a chair, like you're fully listening to the words, maybe you're having a tea or a coffee, your eyes are closed and you're absorbing the message? Or are you like the majority of other people, you've got a YouTube thing up running, you're working on the computer, and you're half into work, half into the YouTube video, half into what I'm saying, and you're not being present. When we lack presence is when we start to lack and see the lack of success, because we have to be there in the moment. People who do well and our clients who start to really succeed and thrive in the Vantage program and the Hormone Reboot program are the people who, week 5, week 6, they've delegated and they've said no to a whole bunch of stuff. Now with this time, they take the opportunity to have some awareness. They start looking at, and I'll literally walk you guys through this in a second, but they start looking at, okay, where am I playing small in my life? What am I doing that I'm not getting the result that I thought? Why am I not getting the result? And are there things that I'm proactively or actively avoiding to not get the desired result that I want? And it's only when you start to look at that and you fully go into it, can you then acknowledge where you're actually stuck and put time, energy, effort, and now capacity, the space that you've cleared to be able to make that result happen. Because guess what? Weight loss doesn't happen if you do not make the time to meal prep properly, to exercise, to sleep every day, and to work on your hormones. It just doesn't happen. Okay. Good digestion doesn't happen if you don't take the time to wash and prep your vegetables the right way, make sure that you're picking up the right foods, going to different stores to make sure that you have the best quality food that you're putting in. All of these things require a level of time, but they require a level of energetic give. And that's what capacity is. When I am at capacity, it means regardless of what you try to give to me, I can't accept it. I can't take it, because I don't have any more room. So we need to make room, and then we need to then use the room that we have to double down on what we want to grow. So it doesn't mean doing more things. It doesn't mean doing more workouts. It doesn't mean, having more meals. What it means is about taking the time and being intentional with it. So now here is where we go into like, okay, well, how do I figure out where it's not working for me? How do I know the spot where I'm doing versus where I'm doing well? Okay. And this is the exact thing. And I'm going to take you guys through it right now because I want you to use this. So if you're listening to this podcast episode right now, okay, 2 things. Number 1, I want you to stop listening if you're not intentional with it, because just learning or just hearing what I'm going to tell you and not doing the work at the same time, you're not going to do it. You're just going to forget it and you're going to move on. And I say this because I want you to get a little bit emotionally invested into this so you can be like, screw this guy. I am going to do it right now. Because that's the way that we move forward through this. Okay. Now I'm going to lead with it. I do this. I don't want to call it a tool. I do this little bit of a life learning is what I'll call it with all of our clients. And it's the assessment of working, not working, doing and doing well, and then the doing, having, and the feeling that goes into something. Okay. That's why there's not really a title. So to start, we're going to look at everything that is important to you. You can be general, you can be specific, but you want to write down stuff that's important to you. So for example, my health is important to me. My business is important to me. The people I coach and their results is important to me. My relationships with Lorna and my family are important to me. My connection with energy and money is important to me. Start writing down all of the things that are important to you that you really value and want in your life. Okay? Don't write the things down that aren't important, because that's just going to lead you down a whole rabbit hole of like wasting energy on stuff, again, trying to take more of your capacity. But write down all of the stuff that is important to you. Now, to determine an importance, typically it's things in which you love, things in which you have a passion, things in which you want to grow, and things in which you find the most joy. That's the stuff that's important to you. So I just gave you my examples, but your example might be, my relationship with my brother, or my friend circle is important to me. Whatever that looks like, write it down and take that time to do that, and then put a pause on the podcast. Okay, this is your permission to put a little bit of a pause here. Now, once you write it down, the second thing that you're going to do is, beside each and every one of those things, you're going to put a W or an NW. The W is it's working. It's working for me. I'm seeing success. I feel good about this area. I feel fulfilled in this area. This area is working really well in my life, and that's why we're putting the W. Or you're going to put an NW. It's not working. Now, people are going to say, well, Andrew, there's degrees of not working. Yeah, you're right. There is degrees of not working. Here is what I define as not working. You want more in that area. You feel frustrated in that area. You are not seeing success or results in that area. Things are happening for you in that area, but you know that you're playing small and more can come from that area. So, great example, every single one of you guys listening to this podcast has a health and a fitness goal. Okay, very simple. Is it working? If it's weight loss, are you actually losing weight? Cool, W, awesome, it's working. Okay, now, is it not working? Well, maybe you lost the first 3 pounds, but now you're at a stall. Or maybe you keep gaining and losing the same 10 pounds over and over again. Well, then I would consider that not working. From a health perspective, maybe even putting something like energy, my energy level and my ability to have energy every single day is important to me. Cool. Well, is it working? Are you waking up without an alarm clock and you feel great and don't need coffee? Beautiful. But if you're waking up, you need 2 or 3 cups to get started, you feel tired all the time, you feel super slow, then it's not working for you. Even if sometimes you can justify little periods of where you have energy, well, it's not working. So we want to go through each and every single one of those things that you wrote down was important, and you want to put a working or a not working beside it. Once you've done that, and once you can be objectively real about that, because this is where we partner the logic with the emotion to get you to move on something, then I want you to only focus on the top 1 or 2 things that's not working. Because remember, we cannot do everything at the same time. We want to focus on one thing at a time, and we want to actively work to make it grow. So we're going to look at basically the top 2, preferably. You might only have one that's not working, that's really, really standing out for you. So again, using health and your fitness, let's say it's not working. You're not seeing the results that you want. You don't feel as well as you could be. You are experiencing burnout. You have digestive issues. Okay. So now that we've established that something or the thing that you're working on is not working, there are 3 things we want to look at. The first is doing. The second is having. And the third is feeling. And we're going to go through each and every single one of these. So the first, doing. What are you doing to actually bring yourself closer to get this thing to work? Because sometimes we have things in our life that we want, but we're not actually doing anything towards it. So from a health perspective, what are you doing? Okay, well, I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. I'm changing up my food. I'm removing inflammatory foods. Okay, whatever that looks like, what are you actually doing to work towards it? Write all of the things down that you possibly can. Then write down, what are you not doing? And look, you know what you're not doing. Hell, I know what I'm not doing. A great example, and I'm going to share a personal one for all of you guys. One of the things that I've written down recently for me that I know is not working is my spirituality. I've never really been a spiritual person to begin with. I don't know if it's the logic or maybe just never had a mentor that was spiritual in that realm, but I'm starting to be more open with it now. Now that I have a higher level of emotional awareness, I'm realizing a large connection to source. Okay. Source, God, whatever you want to call it. Now, when I look, really, I'm not involved spiritually a lot. And there's a lot that I have to be thankful for that was manifested for me that, again, I need work there. And I know that it's not working because I don't feel connected to myself spiritually. So if I were to look at something like, what am I doing? Okay, well, I'm a part of a group, a men's group, where we talk about a lot of that, where I'm slowly learning the principles of what that looks like. Besides that, what am I not doing? Well, I'm not exploring my spirituality. I haven't been looking at different religions or going to churches, not that you have to do that for spirituality. And I'm not making it an active part of my life, like doing gratitude or being thankful or, outside of just journaling gratitude. That's like, I'm really not doing the stuff required for that. So when we write this step, we're writing doing as in what's everything you're doing right now, but what are you not doing? Because you know what you're not doing. We're all self aware enough. And that's the best part about you guys listening to this podcast for this long. Like, if you are on this episode and you've been listening to the podcast now for like a year and a half, close to 2 years, like you have self-awareness. I know this. Every single person who works with us has self-awareness. So in this moment right now, you know what you're doing. Cool. Celebrate that. You know what you're not doing. But before we go into taking action on anything, we got to look at have. Okay. There's doing and there's having. So this second step now of having, what do you actually have in this area? A lot of people sometimes don't believe that something is working, or maybe that they don't have some like that they're lacking something, and really they're not recognizing what exists already. So what do you have to help you in this area? What have you already, like, what do you have as in what have you already achieved in this area? And what do you have to do? Have access, have a need, have to do, anything from a having you're going to write down here. So again, using the example of your health and your fitness, what do you have? Okay. Well, if we look at the stuff that you're doing, what do I have to work on my health? Okay. Well, I have a local farmer's market that I can go to. Cool. I have a gym in my basement that I can exercise and use. Okay. I have my own schedule that I can adjust and change so that way I can change up my sleep routine or my nighttime schedule. Okay. I already have a good amount of fundamental knowledge with nutrition. Okay. All of that stuff you're going to put down under have, what you have existing. Then you're going to put down what you don't have. Maybe you don't have the knowledge of food. Like, I do not have a clue on what to do or how to eat for my body. Okay. What do you not have there? I don't have energy. I don't have time. I don't have whatever. You're going to write all of that because it's important for you to understand where your obstacle lies. We can do a lot of stuff, but we want to look at what we have access to and what we don't have for us to understand where are we maybe self-sabotaging versus where can we actually grow in this area. Now, those two things, they're probably going to take you some time. Or if you're self-aware with, like I know you are, this is probably going to take you like 5 minutes. And you're like, I already know this. Okay, cool. This is the last thing, feeling. How do you feel with this area not working in your life? So our example of health. If our health is not working well, how do you feel about it not working well? Get real with the emotion. You feel frustrated that your weight keeps going up and down all the time? Do you feel exhausted because you tried so many diets that, like, for some freaking reason, food's not working for you? Do you feel angry that no matter how many times you make changes on your own, weight goes up and down, energy goes up and down, but you're left with the same result, which is you're back to where you started? Do you feel sad? Do you feel tired? But really nail down how it makes you feel. Because in order for us to take action, we actually have to connect it with emotion. When my clients in the Vantage program come to us and they're like, hey, I'm tired of this, I want to do it, they have a huge emotional backing, which is what makes them incredibly successful. Now, that emotion's not always negative. It doesn't have to be sad, frustrated, whatever. Like, understand an emotion is just where you're starting because you can continue to go. But they have an emotional backing. I'm frustrated. I'm fed up. I'm tired. I don't want to feel this way anymore. So then the second piece of feeling comes in. How do you actually want to feel? I want to feel excited. I want to feel uplifted. I want to feel empowered. I want to feel confident. I want to feel beautiful, sexy, attractive. I want to feel like I have a high ton of energy. I want to wake up every day and say, holy shit, I can't believe that this is my life. I want to wake up every day knowing that there's tons of money and feel safe and feel at peace and feel present. Do you feel how, even as I share this, you feel my energy and my emotion behind it? When you recognize the difference of how you feel now versus how you're going to feel after you start working on this thing, you're going to have a buy-in to actually work on your stuff and do the doing, but do it well. To be all in on it, to learn every piece of information, to make the effort to learn how to eat right for your body type, to make the effort to change up your sleep routine, and then the consistency to stick with it. That's the difference between doing and doing well. Because when we look every single day at different aspects of our life, we just try to cram more shit in. And that's not the answer. You know, it's crazy. The people who see the greatest results when I work with them do very little. And it's almost like a mind screw to be like, you're telling me that I have to do less, but like be more intentional with my less to get more than I ever have been in my entire life. And it's hard to fathom that because we're taught in sales, we're taught in marketing, we're taught that more is better. If I get more food for a lesser price, that's better. If I cram in more things in a single hour, I'm going to get more accomplished, right? Even the aspect of the word multitasking, I hate that. Don't multitask because you're not in the moment when you multitask. When I focus on something, prime example, like this podcast, I am all in on these episodes. I am all in on delivering this content, delivering it to you guys so that way you can change your lives forever. I'm not writing emails at the same time, trying to have a conversation with Lorna about where we should go for dinner, and then also messaging my mom to make sure our relationship is good. I do one thing and I go all in and I do one thing well. And that's why every single one of these episodes has a high level of passion, a high level of purpose. And people send messages all the time saying like, hey, like what is in here really helps because I'm all in on it. And when I can be present, I can show up as the highest version of me in this moment because that's what doing well is. I show up as a highest version now, then I'm going to take a 15-minute break, which I unwind, sit on the couch and just be with myself. And then I'm going to transfer my energy into whatever the next thing is, which is probably going to be a meal. So in the aspect of doing, don't get caught up in just doing. I'm trying to check all of the boxes because I think this is what's going to get me to my health and my fitness goal faster. That if I implement all of the things, the food, the workouts, the sleep, I'm journaling every day, I'm doing a cold tub every day, you actually don't need to be doing all of that stuff at the same time, because you could get 85% increase in a benefit from just one of those things if you actually do it properly. And doing it properly might be like making sure that we're removing inflammatory foods and eating right for your body type. Doing it properly might mean changing up your strength training routine because you keep doing the same exercises, the same exercises over and over again. And it makes me laugh because I can't tell you how many times I go to the gym with my brother and I'm like, I see you here every Tuesday and it's the same routine, like clockwork. And then they're like, oh man, you guys look super great. Like, how do you do that? Like, I don't do the same thing for starters, like crazy. You know, we cannot get to this point where it becomes a reaction, where we are reacting to life, where we lack the capacity to take on everything else. And life will stop you. It will throw something in your way to try and get you to go to a complete halt as a subconscious and emotional and energetic reminder that, like, hey, you're not doing this right or you're not doing this well. So we need to stop you so you can keep going. Your body, same thing. If you get sick all the time, if you're always having to take days off, if you're always having to push back or cancel meetings because you just can't, that's a universal sign that you're not doing it well. So use the exercise that I just shared with you guys. Do it. Do it every month if you can, because that's what I do. Write down, okay, what are the things that I want? You know, what's important to me? And then, is it working or not working? And then the doing, the having, and the feeling. When you go through that, it's going to be very, very obvious and very stark, and depending on how much you write. And I always recommend you write this, because when we write our feelings to pen and paper, we make a commitment to ourselves. Just like contracts, we're basically committing, we're contracting to ourselves by writing that this is what we want. You're going to then take a look at that and be like, why am I doing this half-ass? Why am I, not doing this all the way in? So that's what I wanted to share with you guys on this episode of the Hormone Helper podcast. Continue to implement this, continue to show up and be consistent. One thing as well before we end the episode that I wanted to share with you guys, I'm filming this podcast in June. So we have actually officially opened up more spots for our Vantage Academy. Our Vantage Academy is our 16-week group coaching program that helps people lose up to 30 to 35 pounds in weight loss, helps with inflammation, as well as stabilizing the hormones. We're searching for 10 applicants. Because for me, being able to have that really tight knit group community and do it in a way where we can show up with a high level of intention, it's absolute fire. So for all of the month of June, basically we're adding in something really special, which is going to be some individual calls with me outside the group coaching calls. It is absolute fire. And we are taking applicants all the way until June 22nd. So if you are like, hey, I've been listening to the podcast for a really long time, I've been humming and hawing, but this is that opportunity. Don't miss out on this opportunity. You'll have the opportunity to get one-on-one coaching. You'll be able to take care of the struggle of the weight, digestive issues, and the hormones. And at the same time, we can help you with a lot of the mindset and the routine pieces that I just shared right now. Because a lot of health has to do with mindset and has to do with consistency. So I'm going to drop the link in the show notes. But for those of you who are like, okay, I just want to message you directly so we can get this started, send me an email to us at info, so info at FIT number 4 allstudio.com, info at fitforallstudio.com. And just write an email that you want to inquire about the enrollment for June's Vantage program. This is a limited offer because obviously people might watch this recording and delayed, but just goes to show you if you're someone who's all in, if you're in on it, and if you're like, hey, I want to make the change, then you're going to get the special opportunity to be able to hop in on this. So again, shoot over a message to info@fit4allstudio.com, or you can take the link in the show notes. That takes you directly to the program information. And from there, you can book a call with me. Thanks for hopping and listening on. Hopping on, holy cow. I'm so used to our group coach calls. Thanks for hopping on, guys. That I jumped right in there. But thanks for listening to the podcast, and we will see you. Well, it seems I'm all out of info juice for today. That's all for this episode, and thank you so much for listening. Please leave a raving review for me if you've learned something good, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Now, if you're in the mood for some more great content and tools to get your hormones on track, why not check out our free Facebook group and the blog on our site? We do amazing weekly trainings in our group that me and my wife call Tea and Teachings that give good tips for anything hormones and metabolism related. It's also a great community where you get to share your goals and success with like-minded people just like you. I'll make sure to drop both the Facebook group link and the blog link in the show notes for you. Or if you're ambitious like me, the name of the group is Weight Loss and Balanced Hormones. It'll say Fit for All beside it with a picture of me. So come and join us and have more fun.